Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Flower, back with another East Tennessee fishing report with Ellis Ward. How you doing, Ellis?
I'm doing well, Marv. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. And we were talking before we started recording, and spring is starting to show up a little bit early in East Tennessee.
Yeah, it's going to be upper 60s today, and a couple days ago, it cooled down a little bit for a few days, but a couple days ago, I was fishing in t-shirt, shorts, and bare feet.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and so what are you seeing on the water?
Well, I am pretty vocally and obviously into the lake fish for the last couple weeks, and maybe another week or two they sort of start to settle down a little bit, and then the lake actually starts coming back up. And for context, for those unfamiliar with these waters, it's the two tailwaters, the Watauga and the South Holston, draining into Boone Lake, which drops 30 feet in the winter for flood control and a couple other reasons. So the lake run browns will move up for spawning, then they move back down, and their habitat in the lake is effectively, at this point, river. We get a couple extra miles of river in the winters, and they're just, and even in the river proper, they're kind of holding in the lower ends of the South Holston and the Watauga. And yeah, it can be a lot of fun. It can be pretty tough, but the good days are really good. As far as, other activity on the water, I've been really surprised at a few of the days that have been warm, with some good cloud cover and not a whole lot of bug activity. But, the typical blooming days of, mid 40s, good cloud cover, maybe some rain. There are a lot of happy fish, and, we won't have a whole lot of pressure on the rivers for another, I'll get a little spring break push, but another 6 to 8 weeks. So they tend to be more willing this time of year, even if it's fewer bugs or even if they're smaller. But, seeing daffodils and some of these lows, the quote unquote cold days are looking more, a couple degrees warmer as we start looking into the 10-day forecast. Not going to be too long until we start getting little caddis and sulfurs, and then the big caddis. And yeah, spring's, it's getting me excited if you can't tell.
Yeah, and I would say you're probably, about 6 weeks from the big caddis on the Watauga?
It depends. Last year, that was about right. Maybe 7, which is pretty early. Late April, mid to late April's kind of a good, that's a good range. And it's really, 2 weeks or so that it's spitting bugs out type bugginess. Last year the water was so low for so long, starting in the winter and then in through the, as the days started getting longer, sun higher in the sky for more hours, all that, had some hot days. And it really, because the water there was just no generation, maybe some pulses for months and months and months. So it was a good week plus, maybe 2 weeks earlier than even the earlier end of that mid to late April. So yeah, 6 to 8 weeks away from that, I'd say.
Awesome. And I got a question for you from Ryan. He wanted to get your thoughts on the effects of pressure systems on Tennessee fisheries and if you see any patterns.
Yeah. Where to begin and how to cover one or two things in a limited period of time. Yes, there are effects. I'm going to stick with just the low and high and kind of provide some highlights. I'm not really a firm believer in anything until I have, especially related to fishing, until I have data. And a lot of fishing is just getting onto the water. And so, to not fish because it's a high pressure system or big skies or windy and all that, there's still bite windows, and those, the pressure within a day, even if it's a high pressure system, you could have that barometer could be ticking down, it could be flattening out, it could be spiking, coming down. That could happen multiple times in different directions throughout the day. So those bite windows still happen. It's pretty rare that there's just a front to back bad day. But I will say most of those are related to the big skies and high pressure. So as far as patterns and how the low pressure, which is going to be the front end of a quote unquote front, it's going to be, the day that rain's coming in, where you look on AccuWeather or whatever, and you start seeing, we're in that right now here. You start seeing temps sort of rise, and you also start seeing the lows, the variance, the high versus the daily low, that starts to shrink a little bit as things get more humid and become more temperate. And then, on, I think it's Friday or Saturday, you'll get this drop, and that's the other end of the pressure. So what happens with the low pressure coming in, typically it coincides with cloud cover, which is it's huge for dry fly fishing, really for any type of fish activity. And they don't want to expose themselves. Every time they eat, it's a risk. So they don't want to expose themselves to anglers, ospreys, otters. So any disruption in the sky is a good thing. There's some other theories around the low pressure, but I think that it'll end up being a couple hours from now if we start getting into all of them. So I would say that, summary is the day or two before you see that shift from increase in temperatures to a drop, low or flat winds, maybe with some spikes as things are moving in, but low and flat winds, cloud cover, falling barometer. Those are the times, and it's not just streamer fishing. Those are the times to be on the water, for, especially with these tailwaters, because that might be the only variance they see. It's crystal clear, it's same temperatures. So those changes are really felt.
Yeah, got it. And folks, we love questions on the Articulate Fly. You can DM us on social media. You can shoot us an email, whatever's easiest for you. If we use your question, I will send you some Articulate Fly swag. You're in a drawing for 2 days of fishing with Ellis and a night at the Watauga Lodge. And Ellis, before I let you go, I suspect you've been fishing too much to have any bucktail updates, but if you do, you want to share those and then let folks know how to find you and fish with you.
Yeah, your suspicion is absolutely correct, which is exactly how I want to be living my life. So, I'm sending tails out to folks that are reaching out, but you can do that either at Flyzotics or Ellis Ward Guides on Instagram, and then making some modest updates to the website. Nothing that's going to be more informative than giving me a call, but the website's elliswardflies.com. And as always, the best way to ask about trips, ask about what's going on, what will be going on, is texting or calling at 513-543-0019.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ellis.
Thanks, Marv.